became friends with Chris Philbrook via the modern joy known as Facebook because I was such a huge fan of Adrian's Undead diary. One day, about a year into my first journey through Adrian's journal, I sent him a message. It took me 3 days to work up the nerve to do it. Hey Chris, I'm thinking about writing a book. Would you read it and let me know what you think? Now that I have 9 books published, I can tell you, I get this message 2 or 3 times every day. And every time I get one, I think about Chris's response to me. Absolutely, man. Send it over. I am eternally grateful to Chris for his support and encouragement in launching my own career as an author. So I am doubly honored to be writing a foreword for this book. First, because I am a super fan, and secondly, because Adrian's Undead Diary inspired me to write my own series of novels, What Zombies Fear, and started me on a career as an author. For me, it all started on October 23rd, 2010, when my friend John said to me in the chat over my website, zombiepreparedness.org, "You gotta check out this story, mate. He's only got like 4 chapters up, but so far it's amazing." Then he pasted the link, www.adriansundeaddiary.com. That's the moment I was hooked. I clicked the link and started reading the story of Adrian and Otis. Adrian Ring hooked me right away. A fantastic character who over the course of some 20 bazillion journal entries transforms from the hero we had into the hero we deserved. Adrian's development, trials, tribulations, and his overall need to survive intrigued me. Then we met Abby. The addition of Abby into Adrian's life started a string of events that no one could have predicted. I can't tell you how refreshing it was to have a man and a woman surviving together, weathering all the storms of a post-apocalyptic world without having sex. There's no doubt that Adrian grows to love Abby, and she him. Their relationship is perfectly crafted and detailed through Adrian's journal entries. She's his little sister, and he's her big brother. And together, they are almost unstoppable. Then, along comes Gilbert. Gilbert is my favorite of all the AUD characters. He's the rock. He's the hard place. He's Adrian's advisor, mentor, father figure, and drinking buddy. He's a man's man with a heart of gold. But like everyone, he's made some tough decisions. There are 2 books in the entire world that have made me cry. Old Yeller and Adrian's Undead Diary. I've read the entire journal several times. It is a joy to read one journal entry after another all day for weeks at a time. The first time I read it was when it was live. I'd read an entry and then have to wait 2 or 3 agonizing days to find out what happened next. At least a year of my life was spent agonizingly waiting for the 20 minutes of reading before the wait until the next chapter started. You, dear reader, are in for a treat. You don't have to wait. But before you go on to chapter 1, I'd advise you to take a trip to the grocery store. Stock up on your favorite caffeinated beverage and your favorite quick snacks. Because once you pass chapter 1, you won't want to put this book down. Y'all, no matter what, in a million years, if you ever try to convince me that Chris Philbrook himself did not write that, I will never, ever, ever believe you. Never, ever, ever. And also, what's that whole part about, "Oh, I'm so glad that a man and a woman can survive the apocalypse together without doing it"? That's a kid. What are you talking about? She's a kid. He's a grown man. Am I crazy? We did it, y'all. We made it to book 5, and it's my favorite. We're finally getting out of the slums of the just slog that it's been to get here. Book 5's great. Get ready for it. But also, it starts out with a birth, and Adrian's real happy. He's like, "Oh, life will find a way. You know, the apocalypse is getting better because the baby was born." But then after that, he starts bringing up how he was shot in the last book and how he's got the most badass bruises that anyone has ever seen. Have you ever seen those, like, year 2000 shock videos on YouTube? That's what it looks like. Everybody gags and gasps with shock at what he looks like. But he's, like, taking it easy because he's got them bruises. And taking it easy for Adrian. Have I been saying Adrian? I'm so scared I was saying Chris this whole time. Anyway, Adrian's taking it easy. He's, sitting around drinking. I think it's summertime, so, just drink. Oh, it is summertime because he's watching the ladies in tank tops and he's getting sassy with them because he gets sassy with the ladies when he's drinking. But then he blacks out drunk, right? And he wakes up the next day hungover, and there's like hangover supplies like Gatorades and stuff at the side of the bed. And he realizes that he's naked, and he hopes that it was Mallory that made him naked and not Gilbert. A little weird, alright. But with his hangover supplies, there's a little note that says, well, I hope you like the trim. Hope you like the trim, Adrian. In what world? In what world? And then he's like, oh, maybe I got laid last night, so I gotta do this thing that I've created. I've made it up to find out if I ever got laid, called the wiener sniff test. So he's gotta reach on down there and get a good old whiff to see if he smells any vagina on his wiener. The wiener sniff test. And I'm like real grossed out that we're starting a book like this. Did I ever want to hear about Adrian's wiener sniff test? No, I did not. And he finds out that somebody shaved his downstairs. In what world? In what world? Unless you're at like a college frat party with your buddies, like your dude buddies, I don't think you're ever gonna wake up from a hangover from a woman shaving your private parts. In what world? Has this ever happened to you? Let me know. And then, I don't know if he passes the wiener sniff test or whatever, who knows, but he goes to Abby, the child, to ask him about Mallory wanting to bang him, to see if anything happened. Did anything happen? I don't know. He's also back to popping pills like crazy, because he's got pain in his chest from getting shot. But it's only okay for Adrian to have an issue with pills, and also, it's not an issue, okay? He's a man, and he can handle it. Also, the guy who shot him came to him in a dream and apologized for shooting him. And is like, you're right, man. You was right to shoot me. That's cool. All's cool. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have stood my ground from you breaking into my little house and whatever. Good on you for shooting me. Quick draw. Good for you, buddy. You must be real tall and real muscular. He lets Adrian know that his name is Doug. And Doug wants Adrian to go find his family and help them out because now Doug can't come back with all the supplies that he had gathered to feed his wife and kids because Adrian took him out of the game. And, of course, Gilbert's like, I don't know, Adrian. I don't know. Is this a good idea? I don't know. We're going off of just, like, your dreams from your, like, pill-induced coma. I don't know, Adrian. But then the book skips over to Michelle, and Michelle's that lady from way before, from them other books. She was in Africa when the whole thing started. Some god told her that zombies was coming, and whatever. So she's getting woke up by some little zombie boy going tap, 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 3 taps to wake her up. But it's alright, she's used to him. He's leading her somewhere, and he always walks in front of her. He never looks back at her. He never stops. Unless it's one of the times that she stops just to see what he would do, just to see if he would keep walking. But he never does. He just stops automatically. So he's like clearly leading her somewhere, whatever, who knows. And as long as she follows him, none of the other zombies really bother her. He's like Moses parting the Red Sea. So then some spooky voice comes in from out of nowhere, I guess. Maybe a little boy, and says, your people will suffer with me and earn their redemption. You know, regular old spooky voice. Cliche spooky voice. So she's like the witness or the prophet or whatever, because they all got little jobs. The like Holy Trinity 3. You're gonna learn about it. It'll be fine. So the kid brings her to some like messed up city. It's all derelict. Is that right, or am I quoting Zoolander? I don't know. I don't know words. And magically, he turns back into a regular human. Like, he's not a zombie anymore. And he's like, hey, there's some, clean food and water in that really spooky building over there, so you should go over there. And she don't want to, but she does, because, whatever, spooky boy turned back into a human and told her to. And she finds out it's a cafe, and there's, like, all kinds of food in there, so she's real happy. She's having a great time. Good job, lady, for listening to that little boy. And then he turns back into a zombie. But then she, like, realizes that whenever he talked to her to tell her that the cafe had food in it, that she smelled lilies in the air. So now she's, like, full and happy and whatever, and she goes to sleep, and she dreams about the White Room, and her dead dad is there, and the little boy is too. And he tells her that she's gonna meet the Warden. He's the protector of the Trinity, and she's part of it. And like, duh, we just got told that. So she's the guide. She's gonna help humanity find a better way to life and, like, find religion or whatever. Blah, blah, blah. But also, why doesn't Adrian get a little zombie guide? What's that about? Why's he just gotta figure it out on his own? Probably because he's so manly and he can just do it. Because he's an alpha male. He don't need a zombie guide. But she also gets told that just like there's a god helping them, that there's a devil too, and he's gonna do some naughty stuff. And she finds out that the Trinity is gonna be the Warden, the Soul, and the Savior. She's the Savior. But also Adrian's the Scribe. And why does Adrian get two titles? That's not fair. Why does he get to be the Soul and the Scribe? But then she also gets told, like, oh, you can be the Soul a little bit too. You can have two titles too. It's fine. But the only reason you get that is because actually you're Adrian's soulmate. Oh, wow. Amazing. You can have a little bit of the soul in you, if you know what I mean. So then her and the little boy leave. He brings her to a plane, because that's where she's going to meet the Warden. But then she turns around, and there's a horde of zombies coming, and we end that chapter on a cliffhanger. Dun, dun, dun. Wonder if anything bad will happen to the lady that just got told that she was going to be Adrian's soulmate. How's that a cliffhanger now? It ain't. You just told us she's coming back. So now we're back to Adrian. He sent some people to go get Doug's family. I forget. It was probably like Abby and them. And they think he's like a mind reader now. They think he's like a witch. Maybe you should be done with it and burn him at the cross now, because ain't nothing good coming from this. But they bring Doug's family back. They was there. Doug's family's kind of weird. They don't want to stay there. Which, who would? This man just shot your husband and your daddy. And Adrian also thinks it's a little weird that they didn't run into any zombies while saving Doug's family. Must be something out there looking out for them. So then it's a new day, and Adrian's pissed. Adrian's full Kyle mode again, punching holes in the walls, because he almost shot Blake, the kid who he had watching the farm. Because Blake showed up at his camp, and he didn't know that Blake knew that they knew where they were. What? He didn't know that Blake knew where Adrian's camp was. If that wasn't clear before. And now he's feeling betrayed. He's feeling used. Blake should have told him that he knew where they were. And how could Adrian be so stupid to not know about Blake knowing where they were? Are you kidding? Chill out, man. Other people are allowed to know things. Other people are allowed to withhold information. You don't get to just know everything. And also, why are we throwing a fit over this? Over this? Come on now. God forbid anyone's able to sneak around on Adrian. I bet he would beat his girlfriend. He seems like the type. If she, like, stayed out a little too late. Or, like, got an Uber home that was a dude. Getting some real weird vibes here. But anyway, get off of that. It doesn't matter. Blake's got some pictures from the farm. They're like creepy pictures. And by creepy pictures, I mean there's 6 pregnant women getting like escorted around by guys with guns. And like, I know, because this is a Chris Philbrook book, that means that Adrian's right and it is creepy and it's blah blah blah. But like, I don't know, if it was another camp and I had 6 pregnant ladies, I would probably like really try to protect them. Not to like white knight in here or whatever, but like I can see where people would be escorting the pregnant women around with guns because they're like slower. and they can't really defend themselves as well. You see where I'm coming from? You see where this could be like not a problem? Whatever. It's a Chris Philbrook book, so we know that something weird's happening. It's fine. It's fine. But Adrian, he senses something's up. And he's like, ooh, because I know everything, one of them women is Blake's girlfriend. And maybe that's why he's so invested. Something's up. And because old Chrissy likes to try to throw you off a little bit, Adrian decides that maybe all them women are just whores. Or maybe she got pregnant and the baby's not Blake's. But he don't know. He can't make any decisions right now. So he tells Blake, you stop watching that farm. I'm going to start watching that farm. Because you can't handle it. And also, he's still crybabying about Blake knowing where he was. So now he's like, I don't know if I trust Blake. Because he didn't tell me that he knew where I lived. So Adrian packs up his little pill bottles and he heads over to the farm. He can kind of sense that maybe he's getting a little addiction, but that's none of anybody's business. And surprise, surprise, he sees the pregnant women getting herded around like cattle, so he runs back to the camp. He's got to tell everyone about the thing that he just discovered. And there's a whole discussion at the camp. He says Team Vagina wants to go to war because they're women and it's happening to women. And Team Penis wants to, like, feel it out because they're men and they want to be rational and think with logic. And what's the other thing they always say? Whatever. Women are emotional and the men's got logic. That's what Adrian says. And because Adrian's a super feminist, he wants to be on the women's side. He wants to be full Team Vagina, but also because he's a man and he's got reason and logic, he just can't side with them right now. And he says that Gavin, Abby's boyfriend, is just one blowjob away from agreeing with her. Gross. Adrian, stop. They're kids. Stop thinking about that. What are you doing? Why are we always sexualizing kids? I'm, like, really weirded out right now. But cool, whatever. Adrian's got other things to do. He's got to go to Doug's family and start crybabying to them about how sorry he is that he shot Doug. He didn't mean it. Doug pulled a gun on him and his just quick draw reflexes just got him. Just got him. Sorry about your daddy. But he tells the mom about his like dream about Doug and how Doug said it was cool. It was fine. Good on Adrian for killing me. Whatever. And the mom believes him. But she's still like, I don't want to live on campus with you. You done killed my husband. So she's going to live outside of the campus, like right outside. So that Adrian can still protect her and her kids, but she ain't going to have to live with him because he's a weirdo. And she senses he got prevert vibes. She want to keep her daughters away from him. That's not real. That's not in the book. So Adrian tells Blake he's going to go to the farm and that they're going to investigate more. I don't really know. And they get into a little argument about it because Adrian's calling them women's hoes and stuff, whatever. And Gilbert comes over and pulls a gun on Blake. And it's supposed to be like this real badass moment of like, oh, daddy's going to tell you what for now. But it's not. It's like really uncalled for. Y'all is just having a discussion. There's no reason to be pulling no guns on nobody because it wasn't even like a heated discussion. It was just them talking. But now because Gilbert did that, him and Blake are like bros for life. Like Blake now respects Gilbert so much for pulling a gun on him and being like the wise old man. So Adrian's got to go have a meeting now with the other group, the one that Mallory lives at. Tell them about the farm and all that. But he runs into Mallory, of course, and they're having like sexy banter about his shaved pubes. And he asks her how good of a time they had that night. But he kind of feels like they didn't do it because she's not walking funny. So they couldn't have done it. And she tells him that he got a small ding-dong. Do with that information what you will. But then to prove to her that he don't have a small ding-dong, even though she just shaved it, she already knows, they sneak off and have a boinking scene. And it's disgusting. And it goes on too long. But it's like, you know, a little rough. They're like falling on the ground. They're breaking banisters and stuff. And then Adrian starts thinking about Abby. Why? Because he's not using a condom, and he's like, how can I be not using a condom right now? But I always tell Abby to use a condom and be responsible. Also, why are you writing this in your journal? Because remember, this whole story is told through Adrian's journal, which, why? Why is this part of it? I don't know. And why would you tell your journal that someone else is gonna find later in life and read that you was thinking about a teenage girl while you was boinking this lady? I don't know. But they go back to the camp and they're like, oh, hopefully no one notices us. But everybody notices because they're stinky, their hair's crazy, whatever. So Adrian's like, oh yeah, I just got laid. Oh. And he did, in fact, make Mallory walk funny. Gross. And then for like a whole chapter after this, or like 2 chapters, or just a long time, Adrian inserts the fact that he got laid into every single sentence like a teenage boy who just got his wee-wee wet. It's really crazy. It really brought me back to like middle school. But then they start having like a conversation with the other group about how they don't want to do anything about the farm without more proof. But Adrian, he's not paying attention. He's noticing Gavin notice or look at Abby's flat-ish chest. Come on, Adrian. I'm really trying here. I was rooting for you. What are you doing? So then Mallory goes home with Adrian and she kind of like moves in with him. So it's high fives all around. But then, the next day or some days later, Adrian's back at the farm and he's like scoping it out. He's watching them. And he notices like a trade deal go wrong fall through. It doesn't go wrong. Between the farm owner and then this like family or this man and this woman. So he decides to wait for them to leave. And then he stops them. And he's like, ooh, I'm friendly. It's all right. I'm friendly. And the guy notices that Adrian's got tattoos. So they become like buddy-buddy over like being tattooed guys. So he gets some information. He wants them to help him set up a trade with the farm. So he's like, what do I need to bring? Blah, blah, blah. So they let him know. Blah, blah. Doesn't matter. It's a bunch of nothing. It's really a bunch of nothing. Then Abby has a birthday. That's some new stuff. She's 18 now, and Adrian's real happy about that. And he also notes that Gilbert's acting strange, but that's like normal now. It's been like some time passed, and I'm really trying to like sum all this stuff up. Because it really was like a bunch of nothing in this part of the book. Adrian and Mallory, they was banging, but now she's acting indifferent. But he doesn't really care. It's like run its course. It's fine. And we all know it's because his soulmate's about to show up. Come on now. And then we go to a new chapter. And it introduces all these new people. It doesn't matter. They all die. Same that we're used to in this book series. And I think it skips ahead because these people travel to the school and they describe Adrian like he's the most badass guy they've ever seen. And he delivers his like stereotypical action movie line where he's like, don't talk to me now. I have wrath to deal with. Because, he was fighting the farm. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Skips back. Back in time we go to Adrian setting up a deal with the farm. And it goes okay. It goes great, actually, because the farm guy, the guy who owns the farm, tells Adrian that he's having all these dreams. And that in his dreams, it was his job to go collect all these pregnant ladies. And because Adrian has dreams, he now thinks that farm guy's a good guy. And that it was his job to go get all these pregnant ladies. So they keep trading with them. And then one day, magically, like we all didn't expect to happen, it goes bad. And Adrian gets a bunch of people killed. Abby loses a finger. There's blood everywhere. Adrian got that new group that showed up that I just mentioned a minute ago that wasn't important killed. He's getting everybody dead. Even Gavin, who gets shot. Just kidding. Remember when I mentioned that new family? They ran into Adrian during all of this, so he didn't just get them dead. But that's when he delivers his badass line that he's got wrath to deal with. Oh, it was Doug's family. He gets Doug's family dead. That's who he got dead. And then during the battle, the farm guy tells Adrian about a different dream world. The evil dream room. And also during that fight, Adrian kills a bunch of them pregnant ladies. And he says he feels bad about it. But it was their fault for pulling guns on him. And he also sets a barn full of cows on fire. And that's what I'm most upset about. Because you didn't need to do that. But he wanted to send a message. Also, side note, earlier in the book, he noticed that Otis, his cat, was acting kind of weird. And I remember that later in the book that has something to do with something, so I'm just going to let y'all know right now. Keep that in mind. That's on your list of, like, weird stuff to pay attention to. So they get back to the camp. Gavin dies. Abby's destroyed. But none of that matters, because Adrian says that even though he didn't get shot or break any bones, he's the most injured out of everyone. Because now he's emotionally damaged, and now he's angry, and he has wrath to deal with. Then, surprise, surprise, zombie horde comes and attacks the school, and nothing comes out of it. But then Adrian's, like, right back to being his, like, millennial self. You know, like, making jokes and poop jokes and just killing zombies, being a zany little guy. Big muscular guy. And he gets mad at Abby during the little zombie horde fight because she's making reckless decisions, and that's not going to bring Gavin back. Not like Adrian's ever made a reckless decision this whole time. Of course he hasn't. He's never let his emotions get to him. Not even his wrath. And it's kind of crazy for a guy who keeps a journal cataloging all of his emotions, not for someone to find later and, like, realize that he was this guy, like, all the trials and tribulations he went through, but just to see how much of a badass he is and how tall he is. That's all. That's what the journal's for. So then later that night, Adrian's, like, going to the bathroom or whatever, and he hears Abby upstairs crying. So he goes to comfort her. She's, like, hugging his pillow that smells like him. And she tells Adrian that Gavin died for Adrian. Because at first he didn't believe Adrian's dreams. But then he had a dream of his own that said that he had to give his life for Adrian to make sure Adrian could complete the mission. So he, like, jumped in front of a bullet that was meant for Adrian. And then Abby says that she'll die for Adrian too. It's another day. It doesn't matter. All that doesn't matter. Adrian tells us that the zombies only follow the roads. They don't walk through the woods or nothing. They only follow the roads. Is that weird? I don't know. It's just part of the zombie lore that old Chrissy's writing. Then we skip to a Mallory chapter, and you know what that means. We're trying to humanize her now, which means she's in danger. She's gonna die. Because that's how all these chapters go. But it's just about, like, her surviving from her haircutting business to whatever. And how she always had long, sexy, dark hair, but she had to cut it short so the zombies couldn't grab it. We're just trying to humanize her so we can kill her later. Then we go back to the group. They're in town getting supplies and whatever. And on the way back, Adrian runs over a deer or hits it with his car. And he gets out and he shoots it to put it out of its misery. And decides that he's gonna, like, gut it and all that right there. But then on his way home, he realizes he shouldn't have done that because they could have probably used the organs and all that stuff for something else. But there's no use in crying over spilled milk. Can you imagine if someone else did that and came back to the camp with an already gutted deer and Adrian was there, and he would have been losing his mind over that. He would have been so upset at that person. But because Adrian did it, there's no use in crying over spilled milk. Just a little oopsie-daisy on my part. Sorry, guys. So then he's writing in his journal about the day that Gavin died and how it's, like, almost exactly a year from when the first zombie showed up. And it's time for him to look back and read back at his journal and do some self-reflection. But all he does is list stuff that he misses, like pizza and being able to go to the store and getting to watch new movies. Like, it's no self-reflection at all. It's just, like, what he misses being able to do. Like, he misses internet, so he can watch new porn. And do y'all remember a while back when I said that he's incapable of self-reflection? Because I remember that. But then he says he gotta focus on perspective. Just starts listing everything that he likes now, like the apocalypse forced him to eat less, so he's kind of fit now. And he gets to drive around in big trucks and feel like a man, because that driving big trucks really makes his ding-dong feel good. He says that. And it's because he's a pure male. Alright. So Adrian's writing all that, and he talks about how, like, Mallory's sleeping right next to him, and then he gives her a little spank and brags about how he was just banging her. and then out of nowhere brings up that a baby was born at the camp that day, and then goes back to talking about banging Mallory, and then goes back to talking about another pregnant lady, and then goes back to talking about banging Mallory again. And why are we bringing up children while talking about banging Mallory? I'm really getting worried about you, Adrian. I really am. I think you need help. I think we need to call Chris Hansen. So then Adrian decides that he wants to take over this, it's the next day or whatever. Adrian decides he wants to take over this apartment building in town because it's like the highest structure in town, and he just thinks it would be really good to have control over that. So he knocks on the door and leaves some stuff there or whatever. Doesn't matter. Story changes. Goes back in time again. Woo! Back in time to Gilbert, and he's having a dream about the devil. And the devil's telling Gilbert that he'll keep Gilbert and his wife safe and secure from the apocalypse that's about to happen, but he has to be his voice and establish a relationship based on trust. And he tells Gilbert all about Adrian and about how Adrian's gonna look and act like the son that he never had and that he always wanted, but Adrian's basically Jesus, and Gilbert's got to sabotage that at every chance that he can. But then the apocalypse happens and the devil doesn't keep his part of the bargain up. He lets Gilbert's wife die. So of course, because this was written by Chris Philbrook, we gotta go through the whole Gilbert meeting Adrian again, but from Gilbert's point of view this time, so we get to know how big and strong and muscular Adrian looks, but through the eyes of an old man. It goes through everything. It goes through the whole book from there. The whole book series, just through Gilbert's eyes now. So, and the whole time, every time Gilbert's dreaming about the devil, he's being sassy with him. But it shows that he let Sean, the first bad guy, get away. And just shows every little instance where Gilbert's letting a little bit of bad stuff happen that Adrian could have prevented. And really, 1 or 2 pages of this would have been okay, but not whole chapters. I'm talking whole chapters of this. Just the whole book series over and over again, but from Gilbert's point of view now. But anyway, Gilbert gets tasked with one last mission, and he's got to mess up the whole apartment thing that's about to happen. That's got to be Adrian's final resting place. So they go to do it. They go to take care of all the apartment stuff. And Adrian, he's calling up to the people at the apartments, and he's getting along with them. There is a gay couple that Adrian clocked from 4 stories under them. And really, just get ready now for all the nonsense that's going to bring up, because now, you just know. You already know. But they can't get down because somebody sealed up the door, so they really have no way to get down. But then, remember, way books before, Adrian has a fire truck, so they make a whole plan to bring the fire truck there to get everyone down. And it goes great. Nothing happens. Gilbert doesn't sabotage it. Nothing. They just get 7 new people. And 2 of those people are 2 little stoner boys, teenage-ish boys. And he notes that they have little crushes on Abby. But he can't blame them, because if he was their age, he would have a boner for her too. As if he don't already. As if we haven't gone through a bunch of books just now already talking about Adrian's boner for this child. And then, remember the whole beginning part of that person talking about how Chris Philbrook was such a good writer because now he's got a man and a woman surviving together, but they're not together. But whatever. They join the camp, and then Adrian goes back to the apartments to clear them out, and there's a bunch of dead people in there, and a bunch of zombies or whatever. He notes that zombies just bite and kill people. They don't stay and eat them later. But there's a bunch of bodies in the apartments that was eaten down to the bone. And then he's got to run home because he gets worried about those 2 stoners getting into his drug stash. So then we go over to Gilbert. He's planning on, taking himself out because he didn't listen to the devil. He didn't make sure that the whole Adrian apartment things goes wrong. So now he's got to take himself out and fight his own demons. But he wants Abby to do it, because he's a Christian, and taking yourself out of the game, that's against the Bible. Also, fun fact, nothing to do with this book, but did you know that law is in place? It's illegal to take yourself out, because way back in the days, that was keeping kings and whatever, people in higher power, from having more workers? Was you taking yourself out from being miserable, prevented them from having a good time by making you do all their work? That's why that's a law. But whatever, back to Gilbert. He calls Abby over, he explains it all to her, he's gotta die. It's this huge, long, drawn-out thing. And she does it. She takes him out of the game, buries him where he wants to be buried. And then we scoot over to Adrian. He's writing in his journal about what a good day it was, about how he's real happy. He's so glad everything's going so well for him. But, he's gotta go, because there's a knock at the door, and it's Abby. And that's it. That's the end of this book. Book 5, I really hope it was book 5, because I've been saying that the whole time. And it's one of the better ones. We actually had stuff to talk about. The end. Bye.